ora koutou katoa. Welcome back into Sky Rugby Club Digital. Well, it's been a funny old year, but you know what? The year is coming to an end. Christmas is just around the corner and the rugby season's wrapped up. Boys, how are you?
Good.
Could be better, Kirstie. Could be better. Could be celebrating a Tasman NBC victory, but not today.
Oh, Joey.
It's been a weird year, Kirstie. We touch on it like we can see each other, but we're not in each other's presence, and you know it's not the same. So I do miss you guys, and I pray for the day we get to be able to connect and do a show in the studio together.
Hey, Digger, I must say, we could connect, but you refused to answer my text messages. So that's probably the reason. Nothing to do with, for us, there's no issues down in the South Island.
Oh, have you been here? Have you been in Christchurch? Sorry, mate.
Well, this is as good as it gets for now, guys. We just have to do this over Zoom. And New Zealand Rugby are about to review the All Black season, so we thought we'd do a review of our own. We still managed to lock up the Bledisloe Cup. We won the Rugby Championship. We've got the Freedom Cup in our trophy cabinet as well. But as for the results, 12 wins, 3 losses. Where do you think we're at as a team?
Look, for a starter, I think it was a good opportunity to really get an understanding as a big squad and give a lot of players a lot of game time on the big stage. And I think the biggest key contributing factor to that as well, and the learnings we'll get is seeing these players on the big stage as well and how they react. And going forward, building for the future, I think they're going to take a lot of benefits out of it. So that's been a key. But the key right now is I want to see a team that week in, week out, we know are going to be playing in those positions every single week. So I feel for guys like a David Harvey or Quinn Tupaia, like there's been different centre pairings every single week, so they haven't been able to build those combinations. They've had different nines every single week, different loose forwards, so it's quite hard to build that chemistry. We've given everyone opportunities. Now, Fozzie and the crew, I want them to go over summer, pick their team, and then next year, the team that's going to be there at the World Cup, that's going to win the World Cup, give them time in the saddle to build that chemistry, build that cohesion, so when they do get to those critical matches and when the pressure's on, they can adapt and they can come through that pressure moment. So as a season, look, it was okay, it was solid. I had a real understanding if by the end of the season, after these 2 final matches, we'll get a real understanding of where this team's at. Obviously, 2 big defeats. So it's quite hard to really sum up the season. I think before that, it was trending in the right direction. They were giving players opportunities to play in positions. They were finding their groove. And then after losing those 2 matches comprehensively, I think it's not a pass mark. For me, I don't think it's a pass mark. When was the last time the All Blacks lost 2 in a row and actually lost three games in a season? So for me, I think it's just under a pass mark, so not quite there.
For me, Digger, I look at it as an 80% win rate. Yes, on paper, pretty good. But let's be honest, there were 4 tests that mattered this year. The 2 against South Africa, 1 against Ireland, 1 against France. And we won 1 of those. There's a lot to work on. Our attack, for me, I think our forwards are struggling to get the momentum that we're used to seeing. Our offload game is non-existent amongst our forwards. I think around the ruck, we're not doing a great job of challenging those second and third defenders to create those unstructured opportunities that we know New Zealand teams are just so good at across the board at executing when it is unstructured. That's where we're at our absolute best. So there is so much to do. Ian Foster has got a lot of thinking to do and hopefully come up with some new plans. But I believe Ian Foster's safe. I know there's a lot of calls for Ian Foster's head, but who are you gonna replace him with? Are you gonna bring in Razor Robinson and throw him that short ball to go, here, try to deliver us a World Cup 2 years out? I don't know if that's fair on him. The guys that are probably going to be worried are probably his assistants, if we're going to be brutally honest. John Plumtree and Brad Boyd are probably going to be really concerned for their jobs heading into next year, because I think in terms of our forward plan and in terms of our attack, which Brad Moore and John Plumtree look after, those are the two areas that I think we've gone backwards in many respects, especially against those bigger teams that we know that are going to be the challenge. But again, who are you going to replace these guys with? Tony Brown is contracted to Japan. Wayne Smith, he's contracted, unless you're going to SOS Wayne Smith to come and take over the attack. Obviously, Razor is the obvious one that could step in to fill that forwards void, but there's just no coaches that are available to take over these positions. So, again, we go back to the original process of appointing these guys. It's going to be hard to replace them, but I'd say those guys will be pretty worried because I know they're not contracted as of yet. But the other people probably, Dagger, I know you might or might not want to comment on this, but it's probably the support staff that might need a bit of a freshen up in terms of that environment as well, because there's a lot of guys that are involved in that team that have been around for a long, long time. And I don't know, sometimes freshening up the whole environment might be the answer, just to get the best out of some of these these All Blacks and experienced guys that we want to see a little bit more from.
Yeah, cheers for the short ball there, Joey. I love it, mate. Thank you so much. Look, I understand where you're coming from, and you're right on the money there, mate. Like, the attack has been non-existent. There's been no, inspiration. Like, you at the Landers, more specials than Bunnings, mate. Every week you just had the unknown. You didn't know what was coming. There's no variations off line-outs between forwards and backs. All I've seen really is hitting 12, going up, and then switching back, and they've had an absolute wall. So there hasn't been any inspirational, thought-up ideas going forward for the ABs, and that has been their bread and butter. So for me, the pods are going to go. The pods are going to go. I want to see them playing off 10 a little bit more, getting our 10s involved. How they do it, unsure. They have to think up something. But one thing I loved from the Chiefs during the Super Rugby season, you'll probably remember it, was when Damian McKenzie would get in at 10, he'd run across the field, he'd dummy cut, and then he'd have like 2 or 3 runners outside him, and he'd always hit that third attack, and it was usually Luke Jacobson, and it always hit an inside line. And that's a different variation, a different picture that teams hadn't seen, and they got so much success from it. So for me in the off-season, Brad Moore, and you're right, they're not going to probably change it because there isn't potentially anyone else, but they need the right people sitting in the right seats on the bus. And Brad Moore, if it is him and Plumtree, they've got to go away. They've got to think up some great ideas. They've got to bring something new. They've got a big off-season. So next year, when they come back, and if they're in those seats, show us something, wow us, give us something that we can see a bit of a difference, a bit of a change. Because you're right, Fozzie's the head coach. He's always going to get pinpointed. But the other ones in the background, they do all the tactics, they do all the technical kind of work, and they never really get singled out. So I do feel for Fozzie as well. It's not just his team. There's people surrounding him. And then you touch on people in the background. Look, to be honest, there is a few people in there that have been around for a very long time. And when you've been in the environment for a very long time, you can kind of, things are pretty repetitive, and it's not very stimulating, when you're in the same environment, you're hearing the same kind of messages. So, but going forward, if they do make those changes, I think it will help. But at the end of the day, I don't think those are the major factors. They need someone to come in and stimulate the environment, whether it's an old player, whether it's an old Richie McCaw, Kevin Mialamu, go in there and really pinpoint it down and say, this is what it means to be an All Black. This is why you wear that black jersey. This is why you wear that silver fern on your chest, and really dig deep and go back to the roots, because I feel like the values are there, but I feel like the core values of what it means to be an All Black have kind of wavered a wee bit. And I think they just need to really come back. It's not a hard fix. It's a simple fix, but just really come back to what it means to be an All Black and be in that jersey, and then I think that'll go a long way as well. This is a new era, and we've got to understand, like, these are new players, new personalities, but the critical core values of being an All Black, they never change. The team was always changing. The jersey's always changing. White collar, black collar, always changing. But the core values of being an All Black will never change, and I think if we just keep going back to that and keep touching on that, what it means to be an All Black. Keep bringing your personalities out, keep bringing your wisdom, your fun, your energy out. But when it's time to go back to those core values and really switch on, I think that's the key.
Great insights, great knowledge as well from both of you too. Just a quick one before we get stuck into it a little bit more. We haven't actually touched on the French, and they were incredibly exciting. Are we still the favourites for the next World Cup, or now does the pressure lump on this French side when it's their home World Cup? Joey?
They're good, man.
I'm worried for September 2023. I'm not sure of the date, but it isn't back in Paris.
Yeah.
First round of Rugby World Cup, and we're coming up against the French, and I'm seriously concerned because this is a young side, and I think from memory, I heard pre-game the most capped Frenchman in that side's got 60-something caps. So a young side in comparison to our All Black side who are littered with experienced All Blacks that have played over 100 tests. But, gee, man, they are an exciting beast, Dagger, and some big boys. They play a great brand of footy where, it looks like they're no inhibitions. They're just playing what they see. They obviously have that little bit of French flair that they can bring out when the time is right, but they've also got the ability to roll up their sleeves and go to work. And, man, do they do it well. It's a great brand to watch, and even better when it's at that Paris stadium. That was something else, eh? That was awesome.
Yeah, do we all get to be there? Do we take Sky Rugby Club on the road?
Yeah!
I'm pretty sure.
Please, surely.
I'm pretty sure.
Surely Sky Rugby Club gets to go to Park.
Were they entertaining for you, Izzy? Do you enjoy watching them?
They are very, very entertaining, and they are an exciting machine. I always knew from previous seasons they're going to get better because they're a young side. They're a very young side. And you look at DuPont and Intermac, like the 9-10 combination for me is the best in the world. The best in the world combination. When you got drivers that are skillful and great like those two, goes a long way to having success. And look, I'm going to put it out there. They are, for me, the best 9-10 combination going around. They are outstanding at what they do. And the thing with that, they've got a good balance. So they've got the right balance. Forwards and backs, they've got the right keys, and they play a French style, which is attacking, a flair. They play from anywhere. But they've got the right boxes ticked. They've got a good set piece, and they've got a good 9 and 10. So, they're heading in the right direction. They're pretty dangerous come World Cup when the All Blacks have to face them in the first game of the tournament. Ooh, it's going to be a cracker.
It's what we want, isn't it? It's what we want. In less than 2 years' time, that opening Rugby World Cup match back at Stade de France. Right, let's get back to our team. And for both of you, who was the player of the season for the All Blacks? Start off with you, Joey. Have you got one?
Player of the season, I've got a forward and a back. So okay. I've got for the forward of the year, I went Artie Savir. I thought he just fronted week in, week out. Obviously, we know what he does with ball in hand, but I thought when he got the opportunity to lead the All Blacks, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. Obviously, the pack struggled a little bit when we got on the European leagues, but I thought he was outstanding once again, and his game just keeps growing. Back of the year for me was Geordie Barrett. Again, some real growth in this guy. We saw him translate some of that outstanding form that he had in Super Rugby and sort of bring it into that All Black jersey. Damo probably went in as the top dog, and then Geordie on the back of a couple of brilliant performances just took his game to a whole nother level. And obviously his goal kicking is now world class. Like, you can't give away a penalty within 65 metres because that guy is going to drain it from everywhere. So, yeah, he's gone from strength to strength. And out of those two, if you're going player of the year, I'd probably give it to Geordie by a nose over Artie Savir.
Nice.
You see my note? Mate.
What's that?
We've got the same players, mate. We've got the same players. I've gone Artie for best forward.
Hey, look at that. Great minds think alike, eh? Look at that.
Yeah, so we're on to something here with Sky Rugby Club. Look, I think Artie's been outstanding. I think he's been outstanding for the game time he's been given. I do feel a little bit sorry for him because I want to see him play that position. I always talk about it, cohesion, connection, combinations. Like, he's played 7, he's played 8. He's gone backwards and forward, and he's still relished in both. I think next year, if he's going to given the opportunity, just give him one. Where do you see him? Do you see him at 8? Give him time to grow in that role and take us to the World Cup and play that role. If you see him taking in the 7 jersey, give him that 7 jersey, and then it gives us opportunities to build a world-class 8. So find his position and let him settle in that position. So Artie's been outstanding. I think he was just one of the shining lights in a pack throughout the season. Just physical, a ball runner, great over the ball, just a real high-pressure kind of player that you kind of want on your side. So he is there. And then Geordie Barrett. I think Geordie Barrett's just his big body. He's big, he's agile, he's mobile. He's really physical as well. He doesn't shy away from the physical parts to a game. He's great in the air. And when you play
he looks for it, doesn't he, Digger?
Eh?
He looks for it, unlike yourself, who used to run away from it. He's really looking for it.
Yeah, you're right, mate. I steered away from it. He actually runs straight up the guts. He'd be good in league, mate. So he's out. He's one of the first in the squad, and I think the difference as well, he can kick goals from anywhere as well. So penalties, other teams' lack of discipline, it's a great opportunity to keep ticking the scoreboard over. And so, I think Geordie Barrett, he was the best back and definitely the best player for me of the year. I think he was the first in every team every week. He put his hand up. So best player for the All Blacks was Geordie Barrett.
You too, same. It's like having twins on the show. It wasn't all doom and gloom over the weekend. There were some winners, so we need to give it up for a couple of teams, our champions, our championship champions, Taranaki, who went through the season unbeaten, unbelievable, and knocked off quite a few premiership sides as well. And then you look at Waikato, in their 100th year, the men and women do the double, Joey. I know, Joey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joey.
No,
but they deserved it, didn't they?
Look, in their 100th year, man, what an achievement for both to win the FPC and the NPC. Quite extraordinary. And like what we were talking off air, Dagger, we were saying, when Hawke's Bay gave them a hiding, we were thinking, man, these guys aren't the real deal. But, man, the adversity they've faced, not that it would have been all that bad being based in the Mount for 2 months, guys. Like, come on. Like, young rugby players. I mean, it's not all
down
that
the beach. Or Kirstie's mates hanging around.
I did notice that it was the Waikato team were the only team to have a better tan than our Tasman Marco. So they've obviously been enjoying the beach life. But the thing that surprised me was the lack of resource that team had, the Waikato men's side. It was Floss and his assistant, I can't remember his name, sorry, off the top of my head, that were basically coaching that whole team, because a lot of the other guys like Beaver and these other technical advisors have other jobs alongside it, so they couldn't commit to going down there for 2 months. So it's an outstanding effort from this Waikato side, and only having, I think, 4 current or 5 current, if you include Triple T in that side that played in the final, that are playing Super Rugby, that have played Super Rugby this year. So it's an amazing effort from a young side. That, man, they just put the Tasman Marco under so much pressure and meant that Tasman, although they probably dominated most of the game, couldn't execute in the key moments, and they created turnovers from their defence, which then created their points. But yeah, really proud of my Tasman boys. Again, probably against the odds, finished 4th after the round robin, and still found a way to clip the wings of Dagger's high-flying Hawke's Bay Magpies and get themselves into a final. So to be there chasing a three-peat, when you think of who they were missing from the previous championships that Tasman had won, they had the likes of David Havili, Ethan Blackadder, Tyrell Lomax, Finlay Kirstie, Puddy Parkinson, Mark Weir, Sevu Reese. All these guys are now part of the All Blacks, which is obviously what
a salary cap.
Want to produce more and more All Blacks. But yeah, they learned from the best in the Crusaders and how to dodge it. But that I just thought it was an awesome final to watch. It was so good to be there. Don't know about all the cowbells, but other than that, it was a fantastic environment and a great showpiece for what is still, I believe, the best domestic rugby competition in the world. And we're so lucky to have it because it is a breeding ground for, well, the stars of the future.
Yeah, outstanding, Joey. I do feel for you, mate. And like my dad always say, you are the first loser when you come second. So unlucky about that, mate. No. Apologies. Hey, it was a cracking season. But on the other side, you look at Taranaki, they go through the season undefeated, and just seeing Neil Barnes post that, he's celebrating, just really getting amongst it, being proud, having to play in Inglewood. Didn't have really a home stadium. That is their home now. And just seeing all the community come together. And look, COVID aside, they potentially, or they would have been relegated to, promoted, to the Premiership. Next year they won't be, so they'll have a lot to play for. And they were the surprise package as well. They had a terrible season last year, and they've come out and won 9 straight and beat Otago in the finals. So you are right, Joey. It's a cracking competition. It's something that really excites me every year, and that's where you go back to your belief, your home patch, and I always remember that time in Blenheim, Joey, when I got the ball out wide and I was running down the right-hand side. I seen a Joe Wheeler there, and I just took a wee 5% off the gas just to give Joey a wee chance to catch up, and I scored in the corner, mate. You remember that? I had to give it in there, Joey.
I actually, if I vaguely remember, Dagger, I believe I might have dummied you as well in that game and went straight past you.
Never fall for the dummy. I fell for 2 and you were one of them. Oh.
You fell for the dummy, but can I just have one more word on the NPC? It's not only about the players. I think what was awesome was the showcase, Dagger. I don't know what you thought, but of the coaching staffs for all those 4 teams that were involved in the final. I think you look at the Taranaki coaching squad, and how good was Neil Barnes? Just on a side note, the cup upside down, looking like the Taranaki bull with just reach like he'd been Gatorade all over his number ones. But an older, experienced guy like that assisting the likes of Jared Hoyata in that Taranaki coaching staff. Then on the other side, Otago, we've got Tom Donnelly as their head coach, Ricky Flutie involved, Ryan Banbury, and the big whopper, Jamie McIntosh. 4 guys that all played Super Rugby in that Otago setup. And then Jared Hoyata and Taranaki. Then in the Tasman Waikato game, Waikato obviously coached by Ross Filippo, first-year head coach. What an outstanding effort from him. And then in the Tasman box, well, Andrew Goodman is their head coach, and he's assisted by 2 ex-Super Rugby players, and Shane Kirstie and Dan Parent. So it's not only a brilliant development ground for our young rugby players to come through and get that next level experience, but also we're seeing these young rugby coaches getting an opportunity to coach at that semi-professional level to sort of sharpen their skills before hopefully hanging around and then coming through our Super Rugby system as well. So, yeah, just awesome. I just love that about this NPC competition.
Yeah, 100%. So special, and the future looks very bright. Well, what a year it's been. We've had Super Rugby Aotearoa champions, Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. We've had our first ever Super Rugby women's match. We've had the Wharapama Cup, the Bunnings Cup. We've had an international season for the All Blacks somehow, even with COVID and everything going on. You two have been brilliant, as always. Thank you for all your hard work and everything that you two do. You guys are amazing.
Oh, love you, Kirstie. Love you, Joey.
Love you guys.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Have an amazing summer with your families. You deserve it after everything this year. And same to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Sky Rugby Club all year. We've loved coming to you every week, entertaining you, and hopefully you've enjoyed it too. And we will see you back here next year. Ka kite anō.